Should we address the elephant in the room? You're not Johnnie.
Yeah.
My apologies, or Johnny sends his apologies, because he's actually on holiday, so I've had to come round yours, and people won't know who the hell you are.
Unless they've watched the ITFC podcast.
I highly doubt people have watched the Ipswich podcast. Matt, my good friend Matt.
No one watches this anyway, so it don't matter, does it?
Well, get about 10 views. Yeah, so you've done the Ipswich podcast with me on my channel. So you've done a podcast before. You've listened to a lot of podcasts. We watched a race together yesterday.
Which was fun.
Which was interesting.
Hmm?
You didn't fall asleep, so that's always good.
No.
And you do know a fair amount of F1. You're not just a nobody.
No. I watched it for a good few years until it got unbelievably dull.
2014.
2014. Basically.
Mercedes. Yeah, you didn't watch qualifying, did you? So
No.
It was quite an exciting session, actually.
Was it?
Yeah, Vettel got pole from Hamilton.
Hamilton got all emotional. I did hear that. I watched a...
He got emotional.
Yeah, he got, oh, sorry guys. On
Did
the
he?
way back to the garage. Yeah.
Well, I missed that.
Yeah.
Well, I was watching it on Sky Go anyway, so... so Vettel got pole from Hamilton, then Leclerc. Ricciardo in the Renault was in fourth.
It's impressive.
Shocking from Red Bull and Gasly, I have to say.
Even worse than Bottas.
Even worse from Bottas, yeah, because he royally messed up big time.
Mm-hmm.
But Magnussen crashed in Q2.
Surprisingly.
Unsurprisingly. You do know that about F1.
Yep.
And Verstappen got knocked out, basically, because he was doing a hot lap and there was yellow flags, etc., etc.
And Magnussen was the one that messed up for him.
Yeah, Magnussen messes a lot of people's races up.
Mm.
Before the race, Toto said half the team has flu.
Yeah, he mentioned that after it as well.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean...
Not helpful, is it?
Depends who it affects.
Bottas had flu, so qualified sixth. I don't know.
Okay.
Probably. That would explain his
Because if it doesn't affect the physical people, like the drivers or the pit crew, then it doesn't really matter, does it? It's just it's a bad excuse.
Well, that's hospitality. Nicky, who
exactly,
makes the coffees.
the cook. Well, I suppose the cook, if they had the so I could a little bit.
Oh, cut that. Yeah. So lap one, it was pretty straightforward start. I put...
Hamilton doesn't get a very good start.
No. Well,
Leclerc nearly
almost
takes
had him.
Yeah.
A
bit more brave than he could have done, I reckon.
Yeah, well, it's quite difficult to overtake in the first corner, I think.
In Formula 1.
It's quite difficult to overtake, full stop.
Yeah.
I've got Perez squeezes Albon, and then Grosjean has to chuck bodywork out of the cockpit.
Yeah, so...
That was odd.
Who's front? Albon's front wing comes off.
Yeah.
Part of it flicks into Grosjean.
You've got a story about Albon.
Oh yeah, he's local.
Apparently he comes from around here.
Yeah, he's from a couple of miles down the road, and he's apparently.
Who's this according to? Have you got sources?
My mum.
Right, your mum.
I don't know who.
Can we
her
get her? Is
sources
she
are.
home? Can we get her
not
on
home
there?
yet, but she'll be.
When she comes home, we can.
Don't know who her sources are.
She can sit here.
Yeah. Anyway, a few misdemeanors from Albon's mum. Anyway,
you probably can find it on Google. To be fair.
Probably.
Yeah,
it's libelous without looking it up.
Yeah. Grosjean had to chuck the bodywork out of his cockpit. He just sort of cut the corner. Typical Grosjean.
Yeah, cut the corner and then rejoined.
Turn
Arguably unsafely.
Should have got a penalty for that. We'll get on to the penalty that was given. But yeah, Norris locks up and loses a place to Verstappen, who gets him back immediately. And then I've got nothing until lap 6. It was literally a procession for...
Vettel gets a decent lead. 4 or 5 seconds, was it? I reckon.
I think Hamilton was fuel saving though. And then lap 6, Verstappen passes Norris again with DRS.
Yeah, there's all with DRS, isn't it, really?
Back straight. The whole track is basically DRS.
Yeah, the trouble is with the back straight, it's because it's one DRS zone. If you overtake, you then have DRS when you're the car in front, which is ridiculous. So there's no overtaking at all on the first corner, which is where the exciting action should be taking place.
Yeah, there should be a double detection zone, so there should be a detection at the final chicane.
Yeah, because that first corner is great.
Yeah, but then everyone has DRS
So
because they're lapping the Williams that was about 8 laps down.
Yeah, arguably, should they have DRS against back markers? Make it more interesting.
No, they shouldn't.
I suppose it's to get past them quicker.
Yeah,
but then
then
it screws up the race between if there's first and second, or second and third, or whatever.
Away.
Yeah, I don't know. tricky.
We don't make the rules, unfortunately. Well,
No,
if you made the rules, it'd be IndyCar. So,
well, no, if I made the rules, Vettel wouldn't got a penalty. There we go. We'll move on.
we'll get on to that. We're on like lap 6.
It was the only interesting part of the whole fucking race.
It was. There was more. Well, at the end of the race, there was more drama.
I more enjoyed the 20 minutes after the race than the whole thing. But there we go. Call me cynical.
I'm never having you on a podcast again.
So,
yeah, Gasly pits for the undercut on Ricciardo because Ricciardo was holding up Gasly in the Renault. Normally, you'd expect the Red Bull to sail straight past.
And again, racing's not how it should be when most overtakes occur on pit stops or strategy. I mean, it's just not right, is it?
That's controversial.
But it's not for the
pure racing. No, but it is a part of racing. Racing.
People kick me down because they're Formula 1 fans, but I'd much rather day out at the touring cars. It's much better racing. It is.
No.
Anyway.
I disagree.
Anyway.
We should not do it. We're definitely not doing a BTCC podcast because it'll be you and Kieran just giving it all.
We should go in the summer, Snetterton.
No. Yeah, so Gasly pits. Ricciardo pits and comes out in front of Gasly 2 laps later.
So it didn't even work.
No, the undercut didn't work from Red Bull. And then lap 9, Norris... This was interesting, never seen this before. Norris's brakes melted his suspension.
Well, that's what Martin Brundle said, but to melt suspension, I mean, that's... I mean, you presume it's true, but I mean...
Well, you're doing engineering it.
Well, no. That's what I'm thinking. That's a lot of heat.
The brakes were on fire.
Well, yeah, but brakes go on fire all the time. They don't melt suspension. But then we go. Something happened.
It was odd. It looked like he hit the Wall of Champions, but he didn't actually hit the Wall of Champions at all.
No, his wheel just kind of caved in. But yeah.
Apparently
they're having troubles with brakes all weekend. Different teams.
Yeah, it's quite not only a tyre heavy track. A tyre heavy track. It's a brake, engine, fuel.
Yeah,
everything.
I suppose it's going down to the hairpin, and then
it's because there's a lot of heavy braking zones.
Yeah, and then the first corner's
the hairpin.
You're getting up to 150 miles an hour.
More than that.
Is it more than that?
Yeah, probably like 180.
Okay. Either way.
Anyway, yeah, and then lap 13, my favourite moment of the race, Kubica was already lapped. 13 laps in. He hadn't even pitted. He was lapped.
It's not quite the return everyone was hoping for. It's a little bit.
We talked about this yesterday. You don't really think he's all that, do you? Kubica.
Well, he was.
He was the real deal before his accident.
Lost half the feeling in his arms and legs. It's not going to help you racing, is it?
No.
In the highest prestige.
Is it one of the greatest sporting comebacks ever?
I mean, it was unbelievable that he managed it. But
he's in a Williams.
Fell on its... Yeah, but to be fair, he's so much slower than his teammate as well. I don't know. He won't be in it next year.
You don't think?
No. He hasn't got any money behind him. It was a PR move.
Yeah, I think
because it looked cool.
Mercedes is going to replace Hamilton with Kubica next year.
Are they?
I've been reading online.
Are they?
It's the same source that your mum's got for Alex Albon. Yeah, and then not a lot really happened. It was just strategies playing out for the first 20, 30 laps. And I put Bottas says rear is quite weak, but that's not even a notable newsworthy thing to discuss.
Giovinazzi spins
on
the first corner.
Well, are we surprised by that? You didn't know who he was.
Can't say I'd heard of him.
Or
knew that he was even in it. What team was it? Sauber?
Yeah, Alfa Romeo. Sauber.
Alfa Romeo.
Or Sauber, basically.
Yeah. Who's the other Sauber driver?
Raikkonen.
Oh Christ, yeah.
You're gonna get lynched in the comments.
Lynched in the comments, like anyone's gonna. No one watches it.
Yeah,
get over yourself.
We got about.
Did you get comments
views
last time? Did you?
Yeah, on my channel we used to get about 120, 130 views. One of them got 200 views. Now we've changed channel, we get about 60, but we've only just started, so we're building it up.
Do it and keep going. Every race, every year, you'll eventually get to
age 50. We might have 100 subscribers. We've just hit 10 subscribers. I'd look early.
Yeah, that was me, one of them.
Yeah, you've made 10 accounts.
No, because I wasn't subscribed to the new channel.
Oh, you subscribed?
If I was on the podcast, I'd better be subscribed to the channel. I thought that's a little bit...
It might look a bit dodgy.
Yeah, exactly.
Lap 27, Vettel pits. That was the first sort of front runner pitting.
They leave Leclerc out, don't they?
The Ferrari always did this with Kimi Räikkönen. Me and Johnny spoke about it in a couple of podcasts ago. They just leave them out forever, hoping for a safety car, which never ever ever comes. And then when they come back out, they're about 50 seconds off the pace.
Uh-huh.
But then Hamilton stays out for 2 laps. They say it's hammer time on the radio, so he has to put in 2 quick laps, and he comes out behind Vettel by like 5 seconds. I think the gap was 5 seconds pre-stop anyway.
Nothing really happened, yeah.
But then Bottas pits and comes out behind Ricciardo on lap 31. Lap 33, do you remember this overtake? Perez touches Grosjean and passes him.
Yeah, a little bit of wheel-to-wheel, turn 1.
That's
what you want to see.
One of the only overtakes.
Yeah, that's what you want to see.
That's exactly what you want to see. Fair overtake, although Grosjean always whined. He whined on the radio again.
He did, but it was a very small touch. I mean, it was a touch, but I mean, if you were...
No, we're still going, don't worry.
It's still not right. Yeah, if you can't have a little bit of argy-bargy, then it's not racing, is it?
What's F1? Bit of bumper cars.
Yeah, a bit Jason Plato, Matt Neal.
Just send it. Ricardo, just send it. Yeah, where are we? Lap 34, Leclerc pits and comes out behind Verstappen. So it's only 7 laps.
That was bad strategy by Ferrari, wasn't it, really?
Yeah.
But then Verstappen hadn't pitted yet, but it still wasn't very...
He started on different compounds, so he went much longer. So... he hadn't stopped at that point anyway. Verstappen, he went out
for a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, and then lap 39, Bottas took 39 laps to pass Ricciardo. I put dodgy defending by Ricciardo. You said he moved twice in.
Yeah, well, I thought there was a rule that meant that when you're defending, you can only change the direction of your car once, and you moved to the outside, and then you moved to the inside.
I think he was sat in the middle of the road, really, and he was like looking to call his bluff.
Yeah.
He saw him go right, and he went right.
But again, I don't agree with that rule at all. It's ridiculous.
The moving.
No.
Under braking.
I suppose under braking is a little bit more dangerous.
Incredibly dangerous.
But I don't know. Too much regulation.
I think it is under braking. I'm not sure if it is.
So maybe it's just normal. You're right.
If you're.
But then Martin Brundle and Crofty they're a little bit like, oh, that was a bit dodgy. Yeah, great.
Yeah, it was exciting to see him.
Exactly.
That's what you want to see.
That's the point. It's exciting.
It was a good battle,
and they're trying to get rid of excitement.
The FIA or the FIA, the mafia as people are calling them. We'll get on to. We're not far away from that incident.
They're like FIFA, aren't they? Just a bunch of old
the FIA are worse than FIFA, I think.
Reckon?
Yeah.
Just as much bloody blackmailing and corruptness. Anyway.
None of them. Well, it used to stand for Ferrari International Assistance, but obviously that was void after yesterday. I think last
if
year,
anyone else, they probably would have given a 10-second penalty.
Yeah, probably. Where are we? Yeah, so lap 40, Hamilton closes to within DRS of Vettel.
He kept going in and out.
Yeah, he kept going
in and out of
deep.
a second.
He kept going really deep into the hairpin as well.
Oh yeah, he kept at the hairpin. Yeah, he kept locking up or going deep. I don't know what was going on. It's just bad driving, really.
Yeah, terrible driving.
It was. It was bad driving.
I reckon it was probably managing brakes. Now getting way too hot. I reckon because everyone was struggling with
brake
brakes.
earlier.
Don't brake, mate. You just drift around the corner.
Let's not mention Kieran.
Yeah. Now Kieran's definitely not watching this.
No. No.
And lap 48. Vettel goes wide at turn 4 and almost crashes with Hamilton. This was the moment that people are still talking about. Vettel, the words Vettel and Hamilton and FIA are still trending on Twitter to this minute because people are still livid about it almost a day after what's happened. So basically, Hamilton was still within DRS. They were trading lap times basically for that whole 10 lap segment.
Yeah, it was a little bit. Yeah.
And then Hamilton claims that he forced the error. I think Vettel just turned in and didn't
force the error is a little bit over the top. I mean, he was over a second behind at that point, I think. And Vettel just went on the paint. And whether it was the paint that did it or whether he just, I don't know what happened. But anyway, he lost the back end. Went on the grass, cut the corner. As he came onto the track again, he went over a curb, which meant several of his wheels would have not been on the ground at that point. As he then gets traction, rear wheels spin up, he loses the back end, he corrects, turns right, immediately then goes dead centre, so he's not then attempting to squeeze any more room out of Hamilton, which he could have done.
At this point, Hamilton is right on side by side. But
he didn't get hit. and then he got a penalty. But my argument is two things. One, he didn't attempt at any point to turn into him. And secondly, had he not corrected when he steered right, he'd have spun out and probably hit him anyway.
Probably.
And the other thing, actually, thirdly,
oh, bloody hell, you got some points there.
if he'd have come on, lost it, and then hit him, he wouldn't have got a penalty because it would have been a racing incident.
I think it was worse because the wall was there.
Yeah,
if
but
there
it's a
wasn't...
street circuit. What do you expect?
No, I mean, if it was Silverstone,
trap, is it?
If it was Silverstone, for example, he would have just gone wide. Hamilton would have
Would
gone
he still
round
got a
him.
penalty?
No.
Would he have gone round him?
I reckon Hamilton would have just gone round him in Everton.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's not a penalty.
But Vettel was given a 5-second time penalty on lap 57, so it took him 9 laps. That's quite quick to decide a penalty.
I don't know. I haven't watched for.
That's quite quick. They normally leave. Sometimes they leave it till after the race.
Already, but I suppose it's because it was a time penalty. So do they need to do that before?
Sometimes they give like 20-second penalties after the race.
Okay. But what about if they didn't tell the teams? Didn't tell anyone. They kept it a secret until after the race. Would that have made it more interesting? Because Hamilton would have still had to try and get around Vettel.
Yes,
maybe that's an idea.
That's why I put in a note somewhere down there. They should have waited till after the race.
But then I suppose
they need clarity on what's happening.
If Hamilton then crashes out because he was trying to race with Vettel, and then they said afterwards, "Oh, by the way, mate, you'd have got a 5-second penalty and you would have won anyway."
He's big.
I suppose that's the issue. Yeah.
I think Johnny is actually going to send me a snippet of his reaction. You can probably guess how he feels about it, being a Hamilton.
That's presuming you've watched previous episodes, which is unlikely, but you might have done.
Basically, Johnny's a big Hamilton fan, and he's going to send me his thoughts, which I'll put here.
I think he's wrong.
I'm really 50-50 because immediately when it happened, I was like, that's a penalty. That's a blatant penalty. If you ignore Vettel, just ignore Vettel.
Oh yeah, ignore one of the drivers.
Just ignore Vettel. And if you're riding on board with Hamilton, you see that he has to brake.
Because it looks like he turned in on him, but you actually then watch it and see that he's corrected
the penalty.
Spin.
The penalty was for a unsafe re-entry to the track.
Load of rubbish.
Where the hell was it? I don't know where he was meant to go in that moment. Like he said on the radio.
If he's coming onto the track and he goes tight left as he goes onto the track, he spins off and he potentially hits Hamilton. It's ridiculous to see.
He had no grip. Like all the drivers, I've got a quote from Mario Andretti.
Well, you come off grass over a curb onto tarmac, and
you're not going to have great grip like asphalt. Mario Andretti said, "I think the function of the stewards is to penalise flagrantly. Is that a word?
What is that?
I think the function of the stewards is to penalise unsafe moves, not honest mistakes as a result of hard racing. What happened at Canada is not acceptable at this level of our great sport."
No,
I think I agree with him.
Saying that.
And Mark Webber said the same. Jensen Button said the same.
Mm-hmm. Well, they all did.
All the pundits said it was not a penalty. You know when Martin Brundle says it's not a penalty, it's not a penalty. But yeah, I really 50-50 because I saw why people got annoyed that it was given. Because where was he actually meant to go? But then if you ignore Vettel and you're on board with Hamilton, he had to brake. He had to change what he was doing from a normal racing lap. That's dangerous. That's a penalty.
Is it dangerous?
Well, he would have crashed if he wouldn't have backed out.
Well, yeah, but Vettel would have crashed had he not done what he did in that exact moment.
Exactly, so that's why I'm 50-50.
It's not 50-50. It's about 90-10.
But if, let's say he wasn't given a penalty...
it would have made the race more exciting.
Nathan said Hamilton would have got past him. I don't think so. One of my friends, Nathan.
So I thought it was a famous person that I hadn't recognised the name of.
I didn't want to
embarrass myself.
Another driver that thought it was a BS penalty was Sebastian Joe. He thought that was
did he?
Terrible
Esteemed
penalty.
Racing driver.
Yeah, he thought that was terrible.
So your mate thinks that Hamilton would have got past him?
Nathan thinks so, yeah. I don't think he would have.
Hamilton was driving weird yesterday.
What do you mean driving weird?
Well, either Vettel or Hamilton. I think it was Hamilton. The lap times were constantly changing. Like he'd get within a second and he'd drop back. Get within a second, drop back, and that was even before the penalty.
Mm. It must have been brakes. It must have been overheating engine or brakes or something.
Yeah.
Because when you're within like 2 or 3 seconds, you're obviously going to get hotter tyres, brakes, etc.
Dirt, yeah.
Yeah, dirt. Yeah. So Vettel got that penalty in lap 57. Before that, some classic team radio from Haas. Magnussen came over the radio and he was saying, "This is the worst experience I've ever had in a racing car ever."
Is that what he said?
Yes.
Because when they played it on the TV, they didn't actually put that bit.
I can't remember. I think
They
did.
just
I think they played
I
it.
thought they just put the team bit.
I think they
which
played it.
didn't
But you
make
were
much
talking
sense.
about going to Hamburg instead.
Okay, sorry. What did you say?
I think he was basically saying this is the worst experience I've ever had in a car ever.
Saying it was dreadful. The
Yeah.
car.
Well, he crashed on Saturday. They were stayed up till like 5 a.m. repairing it. You know, I could go on about that.
It is a rubbish car though.
It's not a bad car.
Was it Haas?
Yeah,
It
not a
started
bad
off
car.
the season pretty. Was that last year?
No, this year's been
Started
pretty
off
fast.
pretty
It's probably
good.
best of the rest.
Yeah.
Well, them and McLaren and Renault are probably the same. But yeah, Günther Steiner says enough is enough, and no one likes the situation, and he needs to hurry up. He was currently in P18, and I said to you then, what was the point of even running at that point? They've got to do the whole season on 3 engine components. They may as well just retire.
Oh, it's data though, isn't it? They always, if they can send them out, they will send them out
Yeah.
to get data
I suppose, and you've spent millions and millions of pounds
to go.
to
Might
do
as
it.
well. Might as well take part.
If that was me, I would have kept going, but you got to question that.
Yeah.
And then lap 60, I don't know what this was. Hamilton reports power dropouts. Was that tactical?
Yeah.
Was that a tactical radio message to try and lull Vettel into a false sense of security? Because he only finished, I think, what?
To try and slow him down and then pounce.
Yeah.
You've got to be pretty daft as Ferrari too.
Well, this is Ferrari.
Well, yeah.
The
strategy is not very good.
strategy kings. Yeah, and then
Vettel kept moaning. Yeah.
unfortunately, after Vettel was moaning about the penalties, which was quite funny. Oh, true, really. I
Well, I
couldn't
totally
disagree
agree with him. Your mum was getting very irate, wasn't she?
My mum was getting irate. She didn't think that was a penalty at all. She thinks that it was the wrong rule. The wrong rule was introduced. It was the wrong rule for that penalty. Because she's obviously it was an unsafe re-entry, but he could not re-enter the track in any other way possible.
Unless he'd stopped.
Unless he stopped, checked his mirrors, got the right hand up, and
Blind spot. Yeah.
checked his blind spot, and then went away. So I don't know. It's really 50-50, but I think it wasn't a penalty if I had to choose.
No, definitely.
It ruins racing. That's racing. If that was in BTCC, for example,
Thank you.
that's not a penalty.
I don't give
Because
penalties.
because they all shove each
You've
other
got
off
to
the
shunt
track
someone. You've got to purposely shunt someone off the track and roll their car for it to be a penalty in BTCC. They don't exist. It's
Roll
great.
their car and then flip the bird as you drive past.
It's great.
This is why I don't.
Proper job.
It's not racing though, is it? It's just bumper to bumper. Give him a nudge, and then nudge him off the track.
It's more exciting than this.
Basically Formula E.
Tripe.
Um,
Formula E. That's just because they can't drive properly. Dreadful.
Reject Formula 1
Hey,
drivers.
honestly, if you look at the grid, it's like 2013 rejects.
Van der Waal,
Degrassi.
Verne,
Yeah.
D'Ambrosio.
It's hilarious.
Massa's in there now. Pascal Wehrlein.
Yeah. He was in
Stoffel
DTM.
Van
He was
Dorn.
actually quite good in DTM.
He's very good.
Mm.
Good driver. Your favourite driver retires on lap 63.
Well, he's not my favourite. He's just local. He retired. Albon. What happened to him? Can't remember.
Just had a technical issue, I think, retires.
No one cares.
No, it wasn't really relevant at that point in the race. I'm sorry, Alex.
They bring Bottas in because on a couple of laps before the end and put him on soft tyres, don't they? Send him back out to try and get the fastest lap.
Which you were questioning at the point before I told you.
Well, I didn't know that they got a point for fastest lap.
New for this year.
I thought they got a point for a pole. But
No.
that's in a different something else I've watched.
Well, if there was points for pole, then Hamilton
They've
would have won
changed
the
it.
season already. So
So he goes out and he does get the fastest lap.
yeah, his fastest lap was like 2 seconds quicker than anyone else's. Saw it earlier. And then Vettel, basically the race finishes, so Vettel will cross the line, then Hamilton. The gap was 1.6 or 7 or something.
Yeah, there was a bit of confusion to begin with the commentators because they thought Leclerc maybe finished second.
Yeah, it's just Crofty, isn't it? Or Carrie and Shandok
They
had
just
to.
can't read numbers.
Carrie and
Shandok stepped in. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think Crofty, I don't think he's made it.
Can't put that in. That's racist.
Leclerc. Racist. That's just an impression.
Bloody liberals.
Bloody hell.
So. Race finishes.
Sorry. Race finishes. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. Race finishes. Vettel crosses first, then Hamilton, then Leclerc. But the actual order was Hamilton, Vettel, Leclerc.
Yeah.
Verstappen, Bottas, Ricciardo, Hulkenberg,
Didn't remember.
Stroll,
had a good race, to be fair to him.
Kvyat,
Sainz was in there
somewhere. You can Google the results.
Either way, Stroll had a good race, to be fair to
Stroll
him.
had a very good race.
Considering it's Stroll, Stroll had a good
You
race.
can't put that anywhere any better, can you?
Yeah, finished
Considering
ninth.
it was Stroll in a Racing Point.
Hmm?
In his home race.
Force India.
Their home race.
Yeah, very true. Yep.
Anything to say on Stroll?
Nope.
Don't want to say anything controversial about Stroll because Johnnie hates Stroll.
Well, not being funny, he's everything that's just wrong about sport in general, let alone motorsport, which is even worse.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really do. You know my thoughts on Stroll.
It's just daddy's money.
I mean,
Buying you in. I mean, he's obviously he's
talent.
a talented karter, which is where we just started, and then he would have got further on. But there's better out there.
He wouldn't have been karting without his billions.
Exactly.
So, same with Lando Norris.
He might have been karting, but he wouldn't have got to the
further up in the categories. Same with Lando Norris. People forget that his dad is like a multi-millionaire. So I'm not criticising.
Well, they all are, but like Maldonado,
yeah,
his family were unbelievably wealthy.
Government backed as well, Maldonado. Like the actual Venezuelan government paid money.
Well, yeah.
Can you imagine the British government paying for Hamilton's drive?
Yeah. Just as corrupt as the Venezuelan government, arguably.
That's another question. And then the most exciting part of the race, on the in-lap, Vettel says, "This is not fair. You have to be a blind man to give that penalty."
He doesn't sound that German.
He's
got a pretty good English accent. Anyway,
he can speak good English.
He can speak good English.
And he basically is moaning. He's like, no, not like this, not like this. And then he stops way before Parc Ferme.
We thought because initially we thought he'd missed Parc Ferme.
Yeah.
And he was having to back up, but no, he stops, he gets out, pushes his car back, leaves it there,
just legs it through the FIA building,
and then runs towards the FIA building. Ends up in the Ferrari Hospitality, at which point someone in there would have said,
"Podium,
go to the podium now, or we'll all get a fine, potentially points, because they're all contractually obliged to go and talk to Martin Brundle and be bored out of their minds." Or they have to put on all their hats and watches and show off their water bottles for sponsorship. But before he gets to the podium, what does he do, George?
Oh yes, this was
the best moment.
Probably the best moment of the season before.
Brilliant, very, very funny.
On his way to the podium, he completely missed the interviews. Brundle interviewed Hamilton and Leclerc.
I mean, you can't really call it an interview. He asked them about two questions each.
He talked to them.
Yeah.
And then obviously Vettel
none of them seem to be that keen to do it, do they? Really?
Well, I don't know how to feel about that.
They get out as quickly as they possibly can.
Yeah, well, I don't know whether it's a good idea to interview them straight. It is a good way to interview them straight after they've got out of the car, rather than
on the podium.
Down.
Would the podium be better?
No, because they'd be cooled down. They have their PR machine heads on.
I suppose so. Yeah, you're trying to get a bit of
raw emotion.
Controversial. Controversy. Yeah, true.
Were you expecting Hamilton to get out and say, "Sebastian is such a bleep"?
No, I've got a lot of respect for Hamilton.
Do you? Do you actually? Do you really though?
I don't know. I just think he's a bit of a knob at times, but there we go.
Yeah, so Vettel, the funniest moment, Vettel moves the boards in Parc Ferme. He moves the second board to Hamilton's car, and the first board to where he should have been.
And I was thinking about this last night. I think if Hamilton had done that, I'd have absolutely ripped into him.
You would have done. You would have been tweeting me. Saying,
as would many on Twitter. But I think because Vettel did it, everyone found it a bit funny.
It was funny.
Bit of hypocrisy on my part, but I thought that was hilarious.
It was
very funny.
Funniest thing this season, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, everyone was cheering him. It was quite funny.
Yeah.
And then, so I've got the narrative here. Shall I read you the narrative? He gets out of the car before Parc Ferme, storms into FIA garage, boycotts the podium, goes to hospitality, gets ordered to podium, moves the race finishing boards to first for him and second to Hamilton. He says, "What am I supposed to do?" As he walks into the cool-down room.
in the little room. Yeah.
In the cool-down room.
That makes me laugh, that little thing beforehand as well, when there's controversy.
Yeah.
And they all have a little argy-bargy in there. It's great, isn't it?
Well, it's really awkward. You could have cut the atmosphere with a knife.
Yeah.
And there's a tweet, and it was like, Leclerc must be that kid where the two divorced parents get together, and he's just sitting there, and the two parents are like having it out. Yeah, so he gets into the cool down room, not very happy.
No, understandably.
And on the podium, Hamilton got booed.
Yeah, which
Ridiculous.
Vettel graciously says is not right.
Which it wasn't.
No, obviously not. And I thought they both conducted themselves very well, equally, both of them. That was very sportsmanlike from both of them. Yeah,
if that was football, it would have had Mick McCarthy telling the other driver to F off and bit of argy-bargy and you get a headbutt or something. So the after race drama was more interesting, do you think, than on track action?
Yeah. If I'm honest, if we look at our little notes, the only interesting thing in the whole race was maybe the 8 laps leading up to the crash. It wasn't even a crash, was it?
The shunt, the incident.
It wasn't a shunt, it was just a heavy braking. But anyway, the 8 or so laps leading up to that, and then the 8 or so laps after that, where there was actually
the end of the race
some
was
racing.
Good. The end of the race, the last 30 laps were good. The first 30 were a bit dead.
That's a little bit.
From lap 40 onwards, Hamilton was in DRS.
Yeah, but as soon as the penalty gets given, it's then dull again.
For the last 10
From
laps.
lap 57, it's dull. Because Hamilton's not going to make any attempt to overtake him, because it would be ridiculous.
And if they crashed.
So he's just going to stay within 5 seconds. Leclerc's going to try and catch up, which he did.
Almost got
second. Almost, to be fair. But it's just not fun. I'm sorry.
The same thing happened to Hamilton in 2007, 2008 in Spa. Have you seen it?
No.
I know
what you're talking about.
So basically at Spa, him and Raikkonen were racing. And
maybe I have seen it, actually.
Raikkonen...
It does ring a bell.
Well, they were battling. It was wet and it was dry. Wet in some parts, dry in some parts, like Spa is. And Hamilton got past him off track, so he had to give the position back, which he did. And as soon as he gave the position back, he got into his slipstream and sent it down the inside, got the position, and then overtook him again.
Mm-hmm.
And then he got a penalty after the race. Ultimately, Raikkonen crashed, so it was kind of an irrelevant penalty, and they appealed it and they lost, and loads of stuff happened. So he knows what it's like to lose a race like that, but it was different circumstances. And Ferrari have appealed the penalty.
I mean, yeah, can they, in the regulations, because that's what it'll boil down to, can they appeal it? And if they do succeed, can they then rescind the time and then change the points? I don't know how it works.
I think that will happen.
Are they allowed?
If they win, they might have to go to like the Court of Sport arbitration.
All right.
Which is like the highest
Missed
court.
the degree.
I've been doing media law and ethics at uni, mate. Which is like the highest court.
Right.
So if there's something that's clearly wrong, then they will just.
Is it clearly wrong?
No.
Whole VAR thing. It's not clearly wrong.
We can talk about VAR in another podcast.
Let's not talk about VAR.
But the FIA have ruined races. They ruin racing, and all the drivers, all the ex-drivers, all the pundits that have actually driven these cars say never a penalty, and yet the one bloke presses the button makes it. Thoughts on that?
It's just for when the sport is already suffering from lack of being interesting through dominance of one team for the past 5 years, to then have the people that run it also make it even more boring by making ridiculous decisions that ruin the end of a race, which it did. It's just balmy to me.
And it was just like
absolutely balmy.
Did you watch last year's American race?
No.
Where Verstappen passed Raikkonen on the last corner and he got all four wheels off the track. It was a penalty that time.
Right.
But that was like, that whole race was amazing. Or was it the year before last? Yeah, year before last, I think. So he passed...
Did he get a penalty?
Yes. He got a penalty for cutting the corner, sorry. And he was on the podium. That was for the last podium place. And he went to the podium cool-down room and someone had to go in and tell Verstappen. And so Kimi just turns up and he's just like... yeah, so that was another moment.
But it's, yeah. And the other problem with it is, if they claim it was an unsafe re-entry, by giving him a penalty, it's not like you're setting a precedent to stop other dangerous incidents. Because as we said, what could Vettel do unless he literally slams on his brakes on the grass, which is a ridiculous idea anyway, because he'd hit the wall
anyway. Yeah.
or carry straight on. He didn't do it. It wasn't malicious. So giving him a penalty is just balmy.
And if it was,
on every level,
if
it doesn't make
the
sense.
other way round, if that was Hamilton, you'd probably be saying that's a penalty.
No, I don't think I would.
You wouldn't? You'd back Hamilton?
Because the situation doesn't warrant anyone in that situation, whoever it is, they shouldn't have got a penalty.
That was Stroll.
Well, no, because it's just not there. They couldn't have done anything different.
Rules are rules, though.
Yeah, it's like the new penalty rules in the Champions League, which they're now bringing into all the different leagues. When if your arm is anywhere other than dead straight down, it's a penalty.
That's ridiculous.
It's like in the Women's World Cup, I didn't see it, but was told.
Of course you didn't.
They gave a VAR decision against the defender because her arms the ball was 2 meters away, and the girl was having a shot from 2 meters away.
The
lady, having a shot from 2 meters away, and her arm was marginally out from straight down. That was a penalty. It's ridiculous.
Slightly off topic.
I know, but it was just about regulations in sport. I thought I'd bring it up.
If they scrap all regulations, then you'll be happy and make it spec cars.
Don't make it. It's more boring than it already is.
It's not. This season has been.
I watched Bahrain and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I did.
He enjoyed the podcast even more.
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't sub until yesterday when I realised I'd be on the pod. So
should be banned.
Anyway, so yeah, just don't make it more boring than it needs to be, because it already suffers from being bad through.
The next race
dominance.
is France. Have you seen the Paul Ricard track?
I have actually raced it on a sim before.
Woo.
So it's all the ones with the blue lines, isn't it?
Yes.
So yeah, I know roughly what it is because there's loads of runoff area.
Yeah,
which is quite exciting.
You know when you were a small child and everyone had this, they had a mat of it was like a mat of a city.
Yeah.
It's that basically.
Yeah.
You can. No one knows where the track is. You just sort of drive anywhere. It's really confusing. I find it extremely confusing to drive on F1. It's very.
There'll be no fear from the driver, so it should make quite an interesting race.
And they put a chicane. That used to be a massive
Is it new
straight.
this year?
It was last year. It was new.
Okay.
They used to have it at Manguicourt.
They haven't had it in France for a long while though, have they?
No, like 2008 or something.
Yeah.
Thoughts on your final thoughts on the race? What are you taking away from this race?
They need to chill out on their regulations. I thought Ricciardo had a good race. Stroll had a good race.
Magnussen had a good race.
No. Kubica won't be in it next year. Unfortunately, the little comeback didn't really work very well, did it?
No, he's in a Williams though.
Yeah, but he's still horrendous
in
compared to
his George
teammate.
Russell. He's being destroyed.
They need to change the DRS decision. The DRS at Canada.
Yeah.
Change it to 2 detection zones, because that would make it more exciting. Maybe. Hamilton needs to work on dealing with hairpins.
I thought you were
Are
going
they
to mention
Hockenheim this
haircut.
Is it Hockenheim this year?
Yes, Hockenheim. Yeah.
Because that's a big.
That's
big
such a good track.
Big
I love
hairpin.
that track so much.
Yeah, we need to go in the summer.
He won there.
Hmm.
What for? F1.
No.
DTM.
DTM.
How far is it?
Hockenheim.
If you're watching Hockenheim, send over some tickets.
Hockenheim, well, it's near Frankfurt-ish.
Where's Hamburg?
North.
Very,
Miles
very
away.
north. In the middle of nowhere.
So, yeah. I mean, it was alright. Not as good as Bahrain, but then Bahrain was pretty good.
Bahrain was the best race of the season.
Yeah. Always been a good track, though, to be fair, Bahrain.
Yes, and have you seen the side note? F1 2019 comes out. Have you seen the gameplay?
You sent me some videos. It does look ridiculous. When you first sent it to me, I thought it was a joke, and I was like, "Oh, this is just footage."
Yeah.
And then I realised.
It looks
so is it on
amazing.
PS4?
Mm-hmm.
And PS4s will be able to run it to that standard?
I hope so. I reckon that was recorded on a PC, personally.
PC, definitely. That would have been a really
high-end
buffed up
Because
PC.
that looked like... I showed it to Mum and she thought...
ridiculous.
I showed it to Mum and Dad and they were like, yes, hot up.
Well, I
was
did.
Like, no, it's just...
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Insane.
Anyway, thank you for joining me and filling in for Johnny. once again, he sends his apologies for anyone that's made it to this point. I don't think anyone's made it to this point, have they?
It's unlikely, isn't it?
No, I'm going to go home now and have some dinner.
So I'm so hungry.
Right, thank you for joining me. We shall. You might watch the next race.
Maybe.
Maybe not. We'll see. Maybe you can become a regular guest.
Yeah, you know, I wouldn't mind filling in.
For a good race. If there's a good race or Johnny can't make it, then,
Check out
feel free.
George Matic channel for maybe another ITFC pod.
Oh yeah,
About a month's time.
you will appear probably at the end of July
End of July.
August. My cousin might want to come on that as well.
That'd be cool.
He's quite intelligent. He's much more intelligent than both of us, so that might be quite good.
Shut up.
Anyway, if you have enjoyed this, leave a like, subscribe, and the conversation does continue on our social channels. You're following us, aren't you? I just search.
I follow you on Instagram and Twitter, I think.
Just
Is that
search. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, cool.
On Twitter, funny story. On Twitter, it's just UBF1 podcast because I couldn't fit in Unbiased F1 podcast.
See, you got to get the same handle on everything.
And on Instagram, it's just Unbiased F1 podcast. So
Let's get the same thing.
just search Unbiased F1 podcast. It will come up and the conversation continues there. Let us know your thoughts, feelings, and thank you for your company.
Cheers.